Hi there, do you dream of retiring early? Well, I have some steps that I would like you to take before you retire. Number one, boost your retirement funds. Check out how much you're saving. Check out how they are invested, like your 401k. So many people just leave it sit and they have no idea how those funds are invested. You need to check that out. You need to find out if your 401k is okay, and you want to make sure you're maximizing your employer match. And if you're self-employed, make sure you have that SEP IRA or that solo 401k. Definitely reach out because I can help you get her done. Number two, make sure you pay off your debt, like the bad debt, the revolving credit debt. Some people can't pay off their house. You know, that can be a bonus if you can do that, but just pay down that bad debt. Make sure you don't take any of it with you into retirement. If you have a major purchase, you might want to consider doing it at least a few years before you retire. You really don't want to take a big chunk of your retirement savings out right before you retire. Next, make sure you know how to maximize your Social Security filing strategy. If you're married, single, divorced, there are some things that you may be able to do to put yourself in a better position to have that guaranteed income for life. Social Security represents 30 to 50% of your income sources, guaranteed income sources in retirement. So you want to make sure you get that right. And as a side note, I created a kit for women. It's got an e-class. It's got all kinds of resources to help you make the best Social Security decisions for you. You can check that out at hersocialsecurity.com. Definitely build up a healthy emergency fund, at least 6 months to 12 months of income or of expenses in a high yield savings account. So definitely check that off your list before you retire. Consider how you might pay for a long-term care event. Very high percentage of people in their 60s, 70s, 80s do need some type of long-term care, and it can quite honestly decimate a portfolio. So make sure you have a plan for how you're going to pay for it, whether you look at long-term care insurance, which some people think is really cost prohibitive, but there are some ways that you can fund that and some programs that help it be a little bit more affordable. Review your investment portfolio, especially right before you retire. You want to probably minimize the risk, the exposure that your portfolio has to market risk. Maybe put some of your funds in more protected places so that you aren't subject to market volatility or sequence of return risk. And if you're not sure what either of those risks are, you can definitely check out my masterclass, because I talk about and educate you on all the risks you potentially could face in retirement and how to mitigate those risks. And you want to have your housing situation figured out. Where you're going to live is a huge factor in retirement. And sometimes people really haven't put in the thought and the planning on housing before they retire. So it's a big expense, perhaps the number one expense in retirement potentially. So you want to make sure you have a good plan for it and what that expense is going to mean on your retirement nest egg. When you're planning for retirement and you're getting ready to retire, you really need to understand what your expenses are, a realistic projection of what your expenses are. And my software, the Her Retirement Software Platform, the Retirement Readiness Software Platform that I've been building for 3 years, has a smarter spending tracking tool so that you can identify all your incomes, your expenses, know your cash flow. So important to know what your cash flow is going to look like in retirement. And then you can make adjustments, right? You can adjust those expenses. Make sure you understand the realistic expense projections, because some people really underestimate things like healthcare costs. You got to know your net worth. So take stock, take inventory of your assets and your liabilities and know your net worth. This is something you should do throughout your entire life. But again, in my software platform, the Retirement Readiness Software Platform, it's one of the exercises women go through because they may not have done it. Maybe you scratched it out on a piece of paper, but this is entered into the software and you track it, and you can look at improvements, because that's the idea, is that your net worth improves over time. So you know it and you track it and you work to improve it. One of the things that many people do in retirement is they semi-retire. They go back to work, or maybe they pick up a side hustle, which is a smart thing prior to retirement, work on some multiple income streams before you retire. Ideally, more passive is great so that you can enjoy more freedom in retirement. But having a side hustle, part-time job in retirement has a huge impact on making your retirement savings last longer. If you earn $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, that's a huge benefit to your portfolio. It means you're not pulling that money out of your portfolio. The longer it can stay in there and continue to compound, the better. But here's the thing, some retirees, they don't spend their money, right? They kind of are retirement savings hoarders. They've been saving, and that mindset of saving is so ingrained that it makes it hard for them to now become spenders without income. And that can be a really hard mental adjustment, and it may end up that you pass away with a huge amount of money. So on the flip side of not having enough is having too much and not enjoying your retirement. It's a fine balance to strike, but that's why doing that spending plan gives you a realistic idea of how much you can safely withdraw and live the lifestyle you desire. And don't forget to think about all the fun stuff, right? You got to have a fun plan. Everybody wants to, make sure you don't run out of money, but you want to make sure you keep having fun, having social connections, doing those things you've always dreamed about, starting a garden, working out, being healthy her, being happy her, meditating, doing yoga, learning how to cook. Like for me, that's one of the things I'd like to do in retirement, but have a fun plan. So if you've dreamed about retiring maybe a little early, or maybe semi-retiring and starting a business or following a passion, and you need help putting a plan in place together to make that possible, definitely reach out to me. I love educating women, assessing your financial situation, and then creating a plan that you not only understand, but you have 100% confidence in. Let's do this. Let's get her done.